My new roguelike addiction, like many of you, is of course BallxPit, which is quickly jumping up the rankings of my favourite roguelikes. But today let's dive into 5 top tips and kind of guides to the core systems. Whether you're just starting out or trying to push deeper into the pits, these tips should help you survive longer, earn more rewards and upgrades, and unlock better builds. Also at the end I'm going to do a quickfire FAQ style tips, so stick around for those. I'm JammyGiraffe, bringing you everything roguelike, from tips, guides, gameplay and more. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you like this style of content, but for now, let's get into it. Tip number 1, evolutions over fusions. Let's talk about the big one first. The main premise of the game is to fuse balls together in order to join their abilities to increase their power. To do this, the balls need to be at a max level of 3. When 2 balls are level 3 and you pick up one of those rainbow colored fusion reactors, those pickups that drop, then you'll be given the option to fuse those or evolve those together. Now, fusing will combine their abilities, simply adding that cross. So you might get dark cross iron, dark cross burn, that kind of thing. However, certain balls can be evolved instead, combining the 2 balls into a brand new ball altogether. And once more, if you get 2 evolved balls to level 3, they can then be fused, and in certain cases evolved again. Evolved balls are typically stronger to be able to build around, with the ability to then fuse an already evolved ball, while you cannot evolve an already fused ball. So you can evolve then fuse, but you can't fuse then evolve. Once you get to know some of the core evolutions, you can start to plan runs ahead. Now, in a moment, I'm going to ping up a spoiler warning, and I'm going to show an on-screen chart I created showing all the evolution possibilities. I'll provide a link to this also, but there's going to be 2 tabs, one with no spoilers other than the core ball names, which you can then unlock, but no evolution names, and one will have all of the info with all of the combinations, the evolution names, and even at the bottom, the further evolutions. Spoilers. Here you can see each core ball and which they will evolve with and what it turns into. There is a note at the bottom for those that want to go into the further evolutions, of which are only a couple, but they're very difficult to get, but give you big payoff. Finally, when talking about evolutions and fusions, it is worth stating that if you go into the escape menu, you can go to the encyclopedia here, and you can see all of the balls you've unlocked and what they require in order to create them. But for now, let's move on to tip 2. Tip number 2, understand your character and passive synergies. There are a decent amount of characters in BallxPit, and understanding what each does will help find what passives and ball types work best with that character. Let me give you an example. The Embedded is a character that's a good example. He's great. He provides a passive buff that allows all balls always pierce enemies until they hit a wall, meaning if you go from the left hand side through enemies to the right hand wall, it will pierce all the way to the right hand wall. But what it also does is apply poison as they pass through, because it's first ball that it starts with is a poison ball. Knowing that his ability allows balls to pass through until they hit a wall means you want to provide damage to as many units as possible. You're not going to be hitting them over and over, so what you want to do is provide damage over time, so spread that poison as much as possible. So evolutions based on the poison ball or brood mother to increase the volume of balls should be your focus. Some passives that work well based on this character are of course the ghostly corset, which increases pierce damage, so it's an obvious choice, or say the wagon wheel, which boosts power after a wall hit, so you can pass them through, hit a wall, and then everything after that is going to do increased damage. Also the silver bullet, which increases damage by 25% until the ball hits a wall, so it's increasing your damage as you pierce through. All these synergies work well, and then focusing on a decent angle to get balls through as many enemies as possible before hitting a wall near the back works beautifully. Now, all characters have different base stats and level up stats. Understanding their strengths is also key. So understanding that endurance increases HP, strength increases base damage, leadership increases baby ball count and damage. And for those that aren't aware, baby balls are those white balls that aren't one of your chosen balls, if that makes sense. They have no special ability. Speed increases ball speed and move speed. Dexterity increases critical chance and fire rate. It's worth understanding that a critical hit does 200% damage unless you've modified it with passives. And then you have intelligence, which increases the area of effect power and status effect power and passive power by a multiplier. So you might have like 1.5x the area of effect power. So going back to my example character, he is high in leadership and dexterity, meaning that anything to do with increasing critical hit chance or damage is great, or anything to do with baby balls because of his leadership stat. But on the flip side, his health pool is very low, so you need to keep moving. Make sure you understand the character's pros and cons of the character that you're using. It's worth saying, yes, evolutions and ball choice make a bigger effect than the stats themselves, but understanding what works best with that character is key. Tip number 3, what to build and upgrade first. Early on, you may find that it becomes a bit difficult to progress, and that is because building and upgrading your buildings is pivotal to be able to increase your meta progression in order to progress further. The first thing to say with building and harvesting is to make sure that you build and upgrade before harvesting. So when you get back from a run, check what buildings and upgrades you want to do, then harvest for the best chance to have a higher impact per harvest. Plus, any of those buildings will require construction, which you need to bounce off them in order to do. Now, as part of this tip around building and upgrading, what I'm going to do is break down the buildings for you, talk through different categories and what you should look out for as game changer buildings to upgrade early. So first off, you have all of the resource buildings, your wheat, your wood, your stone, which also have various buildings to automatically generate that, such as the farm, the lumber mill, and the stone mine. They do require you to have a character assigned to them, but obviously you've got plenty to play around with, so just assign them away. You also have the gold mine, which you can assign people to, but it is worth mentioning that with the gold mine, it doesn't passively generate anything. It's only when there is someone assigned to it and you bounce off of it. So use that to your advantage when you actually want to generate gold. Having the various resource buildings placed centrally, using other buildings that you don't need to bounce off as walls is a way to go to maximize your harvest, being able to bounce around the same area. If you can, use your gold mines on the edges so that at least when you are bouncing off the edge, then you're gaining some gold. If you have someone assigned to it, that's beneficial. The next kind of set of buildings are your stat builders. This set of buildings are your main meta progression to increase all character base stats, and these will improve the base starting stat of that particular set and their scaling ability. And what I mean by that is the higher your scaling ability, the more you're going to get an increase as you level your character. These break down into the clinic, which gives you a base stat increase, in the alchemist, which gives you the scaling stat increase for endurance. I'll say these in the same order as I go through. So you've got your barracks for the base stat, military for the scaling for strength, consulate and diplomacy hall for leadership, shoemaker and wheelwright for speed, gunsmith and archery for dexterity, and schoolhouse and university for intelligence. These buildings will help you progress. However, I suggest upgrading them all fairly consistently, so don't focus on one over the other unless there is one particular style of play that you center around. Maybe you just love having loads of baby balls and filling the screen. Leadership should be your first port of call because it's going to increase the amount of baby balls. Maybe you just like having massive big damage numbers, then yes, you could just use your strength to increase the amount of damage. But you're going to need to span out these, but this is your main source of meta progression. Now, there are a bunch of buildings which help harvests by increasing harvest speed or giving you certain additional benefits. However, I don't really think these make a huge difference to the buildings. I wouldn't be focusing on these at all in my personal opinion. Now, I'm going to talk around some of the big game changes. Potential spoilers here if you really want to work it out yourself. You've been warned. Now, the first one would be the matchmakers. The matchmakers allows you to take 2 characters on a run, crossing their abilities. This opens the game wide when you first unlock it, allowing you to take 2 characters, combine their abilities, and level them up at the same time. Plus, it allows you to progress that much quicker by having 2 characters finish a level at a particular difficulty. Another major one is the jewelers, which increases the level of your starting balls, allowing for quick evolution and fusion. Then there's a couple extras that help but aren't vital, I would say, in the exorcist, which allows you to ban choices during a run so they don't reappear. You've got the gambler's den, which gives free rerolls. Both make a big difference in runs, but they're not vital, but do make a difference. For instance, they're far more powerful than the buildings that increase your harvests. The magnet factory is also pretty good, increasing pickup range for gems and drops during runs. And then you have the antique shop, allowing you a passive item choice to start with. Now, there are a few additional buildings that give you pretty big benefits further on into the game that you're going to want to get. But for interest of spoilers, I'm not going to go into some of those in this video, but I may go into them in a future video. But now I think in the early game, the ones I've mentioned are going to help you. Late game, you're going to be getting these buildings anyway. You'll by that point, you know what to do with them. There is an additional set of buildings, and these are the houses, of course. You don't get big bonuses from most of the houses other than unlocking the character. I think they are, to be honest, best placed around the veterans hut, which increases XP during runs. This is my suggestion. I'm sure there are more strategically perfect builds, but I think these are the main focuses for sure. Tip number 4, gold strategy. Now, while I've covered the best buildings to aim for, money is always an issue unless you build and invest correctly. This is a little tip that can help. Build gold mines in a pattern where you can bounce between them, and make sure that the spa is fully upgraded and the watcher tower is also fully upgraded. The spa allows you to pay in order to do another harvest, and the watcher's tower allows for the harvest to have additional time. If you've got both of these fully upgraded and you get your gold mines in this pattern, you can then add a character into each of the gold mines and bounce away to get as much money as possible. Then, if you also have all of your harvestables on one side of the map, maybe surrounded by stones so that they can bounce around, you can pay for an additional harvest with the spa, send out the harvest gathering resources, and then go into your marketplace in order to sell those to get more money, to then run another harvest to get more gold. Now, you can do this over and over. Obviously, the price of doing another harvest increases, but you can do it a few times between each run. This should allow you to get fully upgraded fairly fast and expand with all that money. Tip number 5, progression. In order to progress, you will have worked out that you need to complete levels with multiple characters to unlock the next level by upgrading the lift. But don't forget the buildings that you get for completing each level. They allow you to gain stat upgrades by completing each level with more and more characters and on harder difficulties. Now, these do add up, these stat upgrades that you get, and I'll show a few on the screen. These add up as you complete that level with as many characters as possible. If you find yourself getting capped in terms of the difficulty and you can't progress, go back to the previous levels, defeat them on, a couple of difficulties higher with as many characters as possible. This will increase your base stats and increase your chances of moving forward on the higher difficulties. This is somewhat overlooked, but it's the way that you need to progress in the game, rather than just bashing your head against the wall, trying to level up your characters by going against that particularly hard level over and over and over. For me, it's worth going back to the levels and completing them with those characters. Now, while that was 5 top tips and guides, here's 3 very quick FAQ tips that are quickfire. How many chances to fuse do you get per level? Well, it appears there is a set number per level, but that they appear at random during the level based on certain time intervals. Don't get me wrong, it's not exactly 8 minutes something's going to drop. It is a time interval based on between the bosses. Can passives be fused? Yes, there are only some. There are 8 main ones, I believe, or is it 6 main ones? But they require varying amounts of core passives. Some require 4 passives, some require 2, but you can see them quickly here. Here's a chart for you. And finally, is there an end game? Yes, by completing with 8 characters, you can unlock New Game Plus, which I'll let you discover what the differences are there. So there you have it, 5 tips and guides to the core systems and a few extra answers. Hopefully you found this useful. If you did, please hit that like and subscribe button. It helps me out a ton. I'll be back next week with another video, and come check me out on Twitch on Wednesdays and Fridays, where I mostly play roguelikes. However, from next week on the 30th, Ark Raiders is releasing, and I have a feeling that's going to be taking over my life for a while. But for now, I've been JammyGiraffe, sending love and positivity as always. Good luck in your next runs. Jammy out.